Okay, this is a brief run through of Playtest, which is a new website I've made. I'm Stefan, by the way, from Chobble, formerly of Bouncy Castle Network, now working as a freelancer. And I've made this new website based on Spencer Elliott's RPII testing code called Playtest. And it's a website where you can log tests for Bouncy Castle equipment. So I'll show you what the registration page looks like, even though I'm already registered. So it's very obvious really. Email, name, RPI inspector number, which is optional, password and confirmation. Once you're registered, I'll have to activate your account because it's not open registration quite yet. Okay, so I'm logged in. By default, I'm looking at my inspections page, which shows my list of in-progress inspections. And underneath that, it shows all of my completed inspections. And then underneath all of the completed inspections, there's an export CSV button, which exports all of this data to a CSV file. I should probably move that closer to the top of the page, really. But anyway, this is an incredibly early version of the software, and hopefully plenty is going to change. I'm going to start by creating a new inspection that isn't associated with a unit. A unit basically is the thing that links together various inspections over time for a product. But I'll start off by clicking inspections and then add inspection. And you'll see here it tells me this is going to create an inspection without an associated unit. If you're inspecting a unit that you've seen before, it's faster to select the unit from the Units tab above and start the inspection from there. Continue, and I'll press OK. So now I'm on the page to edit my new inspection. So you'll see here we've got no unit selected, and I can create a new unit for this inspection, and then we've got some public information about this inspection, like it's got an ID. For each inspection there's a PDF and a QR code. The PDF, you'll see it's just a draft at the minute, and the QR code is there. And those are publicly accessible. So the PDFs and the QR code, and actually a JSON API is available for every inspection and every report. Each inspection and each user for that matter has got one of these IDs, which are randomly generated, which means that someone can't just iterate through every single ID. They have to know the ID to view the inspection. So then we've got the rest of the inspection details. We can fill in the location. This will auto-fill from previous places that you've done a location. So these might be the addresses of Bouncy Castle hirers. Got your inspection date, which is pre-selected to today. And it says what the re-inspection date is, which is a year from today. Then we've got an internal ID that you might have, separate from the public ID that I just talked about. So you might give each of your inspections a increment in number ID, for example. You'll see as well that in the top right we've got an unsaved changes box because we've started typing in the location. I can hit save there and it'll save, so you can save as you go. Then we've got the unit dimensions. Let's stick in a width, length and height here. And for each of these fields you can add a comment. That's the same for pretty much every field on an inspection. Then we've got some details about the unit's configuration, whether it's got a slide or is totally enclosed. We'll say it has got a slide, not totally enclosed. And then we've got the inspection results, pass and fail. Maybe I should move this to somewhere else since this is on the first page. But like I said, early version. And I'll hit save and we'll save. I should also make this save message reappear since it's there from before when we pressed it in the corner. Anyway, I'm kind of giving myself notes here at the same time, so bear with me. So now we've got the overall completion of this inspection. And we can see that there's 72 incomplete fields. On the general page, we've got whether it passed and the unit selection. And then we've got user height, a whole bunch of fields to do with user height, slide, structure, tons of stuff to do with structure. Many thanks to Spencer for documenting all of this. Anchorage details, materials. Oh, some things are listed twice there, so I'll figure out why that is too. And then fan and blower details. So I've saved this, so now if I click through to user height, it takes me up to the top of the page here. So this is the second tab along. And we've got containing wall height, platform height, tallest user height, play area length, width, negative adjustment. All the kind of stuff that's required to fill in an RPII inspection. And then for this section and for a few other bits, you can view the safety standards and you can view what the BSEN 14960 requirements are for the different safety standards that are applicable. So I'm going to fill in some details here and say that the containing wall height is 8 foot, the platform height is 3 foot, tallest user height, meters, sorry, this is, and then the tallest user height we'll say is 1.2 meters. Play area length, we'll say it was 8 meters, 8 meters wide, and no negative adjustment. And then if I save that now, actually, I'll show you. We can see now that this passes the user height requirement because the containing walls must be at least 1.2 meters equal to the user height. Pass, it's compliant. So I hope you see here what I'm kind of trying to get at with this system is that as you're filling it out, it's also reminding you of the specs of BSEN 14960. My dog's come to say hello to me, so hopefully you can't hear her pottering around on the microphone. Okay, so that's my draft inspection. Obviously there's a lot more to fill in here in order for it to be complete. So I'm going to click through to a more complete inspection. And here we've assigned it to a unit, so we see we've got a picture of the castle. Nice. We've filled in the inspection location, inspection date, and an internal ID, and all of the width, length, and height. But we've still got some incomplete fields, and it shows us here what still is yet to do. So if I click through to ropes, we'll see it highlights the field that's incomplete. And we'll see on here as well, the following fields have been pre-filled from the last completed inspection for this unit: ropes, clamber netting, and fire retardant. So even though this isn't yet saved to the database, it's been filled in from the previous inspection. That means that for recurring inspections, all you really need to do is go to each page, check that everything is okay, and press save. You can go through a recurring inspection only having to change the stuff that's actually changed. I need to adjust the wording and make it more obvious that these fields have been pre-filled in, but like for the millionth time, this is alpha version software. There's plenty of work still to do. Okay, so now to get back to a completed inspection, I'll show you what that looks like. Got the inspection details, we've got the rundown of the unit, and then you can see here for reports we've got PDF, QR code, and JSON, and I can click on the PDF, and it's got the PDF for, this is the PDF for the unit, which shows the inspection history. So this is probably what you would have be the public facing report for this unit, because you don't want to go into the full details of everything about the unit, just that it's passed. This is pretend data here, so presumably it would pass in all of the previous ones if it's passed now. And then we've also got the latest inspection PDF, and this gives us the full PDF of that unit with all of the breakdowns of the inspection, including all of the comments that have been put in, a photo of the unit, and a QR code that takes you through to this same PDF. Back to the view inspection page, and you can see we embed the inspection report on the page here as well, so you can see exactly what it looks like. Oh yeah, and there's also, like I said, the QR codes, links, and the JSON links. The JSON has the full same details as what's in the PDF. So if I click on this, it has the full, everything from the full report broken down here. So if you've got an external website or some other system that you wanted to integrate with these inspections, it would be really easy. All you need to do is store the ID of each inspection. For example, in this code, it's BIM-FR9DE. And from that code, you can fetch the full JSON details from the site, or you can download the PDF. I've also got a share button here just to easily copy the PDF link to your clipboard. There's a bunch of other stuff in here that's not yet finished. So like we've got companies where your user account can be linked to a company, and then the various users that are assigned to that company can all see the same tests and same units. I don't know actually how useful that's going to be, but it kind of occurred to me as I was building it. It wasn't that much more difficult to add, so why not? I've also added a safety standards page, which breaks down the same calculations that are used in the forms. This is again publicly accessible. You can stick in the length, width, and height of a unit, and it'll calculate the anchors, and then give you a breakdown of how it got to this calculation, which was very useful for me when I was building this system because it was quite complicated reading BSEN 14960, and I thought it was quite handy to see the breakdown of the sums spelled out for me in a way that I can kind of understand. I need to spell out in here that this is like using the box method to calculate the required amount of anchors, and that there's another method. So you can see that there's lots of like specifics about tests that it would be good to have expert input on. I'm only a web developer. I don't really know anything about bouncy castle tests. I've made this based off Spencer's code and off reading BSEN 14960. And it'd be great to have experts putting their real input into the development of this. So we can calculate the wall height requirements. So I'll stick the user height as being 2 meters. And we know that the tallest wall user height must be 2 meters. And we've got the calculation formula that figures that out. And the Ruby source code. So what I've tried to do here as well is be really transparent about how these things are being figured out. Maybe this isn't necessary once it's no longer in alpha version quality. But I think for now it's quite handy to be able to read the source code. Even if you don't know source code, you can probably get the gist of what's happening from that, maybe. So the source code for all of this is stored on my Git repository, which is linked down at the very bottom of the page, source code. This is all, like I said, open sourced under the AGPL version 3 license. That basically means that anyone who adds to this source code is obliged to also share their source code. I'm hoping that we can build here a really cool, useful system for logging Bouncy Castle tests that is independent of any inspection body, that's expandable by anyone, and that can be done really for the good of the industry. In terms of a business model for this, so because the platform is free, anyone is able to host a version of playtest on their own domain name. That's no problem at all. I'm happy to help you get that set up. I might even think of a hosting package for me to maintain that for you as well if you want a fully kind of hands-off service. I'm also going to charge for access to my copy of playtest at playtest.co.uk. I haven't decided what the final price is going to be. For people who sign up early on, I'm thinking a £5 a month sounds like a pretty good deal to be able to store an unlimited amount of tests. That might change in the future if it turns out that the storage requirements per test are a lot higher. Like at the minute, we're only storing 1 photograph per unit, which means that a lot of tests share the same photograph. If we were going to change that in the future, so each test had loads and loads of photographs attached, then that would increase the storage cost associated with that test. And then it might be the case that a £5 a month isn't enough to cover the server costs of that, given that I also want to make a little bit of profit to cover investing time in developing this system. But we'll see how all those things pan out. You know, even if it doesn't work, the system is built now. So worst case scenario, people host it themselves on their own platforms and it doesn't become a viable business for me. But I think it would be quite good for the industry, and it'd be nice for me as well, if this could become a little viable business that's solely focused on providing a really good platform for hosting tests of inflatable play equipment. And maybe other things as well. You know, I've built it to be all very modular. We've got these different sections in here: user height, structure, anchorage, materials, fan blower. But these could be anything. This could quite easily support totally different types of units that were tested. But the thing then that we want to figure out is, you know, what's the overlap between the users of the system and what's useful for it to support for them. Anyway, I feel like I'm kind of waffling a bit now. I hope this has given you a bit of an overview of playtest. I'm excited to push it forward. The feedback that I've had from people has been really good in terms of being keen for this to happen. Like I've said a bunch of times now, this is a very early version of the software. So if you are going to use it, please be aware that there's going to be bugs. But you're also going to have to get me to activate your account. So if you're interested in signing up and aware that you're going to be working on an alpha version of the platform initially until I've got bugs ironed out, which hopefully will be very fast because I'm willing to put as much time into this as it takes. Like I said, I'm happy to do year subscriptions at the minute for £5 a month for a year paid up front to me via bank transfer. All of your inspections that are stored on here, they're not deleted when your payment runs out. You're just not able to add more inspections. The idea is as well that I'm building up a kind of a permanent archive here of inspections. I suppose they don't need to be stored permanently, but it'd be good if we could have at least, you know, a 10-year archive perhaps of inflatable inspections. That sounds very reasonable to do without the server costs getting too extortionate. But anyway, again, I'm getting a bit too into the technical weeds of the infrastructure hosting costs of this. I just want to be really transparent about it as well. Okay, I hope this has been interesting for the Bouncy Castle inspectors out there. Like I said, if you want access, hit me up. Everything's going to be a bit rough and ready for the time being, but bear with me and I'm sure we can make a pretty cool Bouncy Castle testing database system here. Alright, thanks. Over and out.